This is Dave McCain with the Right Tree Genealogy, doing the third part of the three-part series on custom groups on Ancestry.com. And one thing I want to note to everyone to begin with here is there are some assumptions. If you have watched part 1 and part 2, then you'll know what I'm talking about here. Or if you are coming into this video and have done know how to look at your matches, you know what custom groups are, and you know how to change some of the filter settings, like if you just want to look at unlinked trees and those things, then you should be able to proceed forward after you see the next page. Now, if you don't know those things, I suggest you go to the part 1 and part 2 and watch them, and then come back to this video. There's a card linked right here that should be able to link you to video 1. Then you can watch video 2 at the end of that one, and then you should be able to come back to this one. So this is part 3, but it has 2 sessions. One's going to finish up what we can do with the 8 dots, and then the second session, which is all included in this one video, but I'm breaking it into 2 pieces. The second session will go into the 40 total dots that you can get. So to recap what we did in the first parts, we created our 8 great-grandparents colored dots. By doing the color dots using the custom grouping feature of Ancestry.com, we are able to put those dots on each one of our matches as we look through them. And this is how we did it. The father's side was 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the mother's side was 5, 6, 7, and 8. And those goes right down the middle of the 24 dots, 1 through 8. So that's the recap of part 1 and 2 on the dots that we used. So at this point, we're going to finish what we didn't get completed on part 1 and part 2, because it's still in advanced features even with just the 8 dots. We're going to cover how to show the different ways a AT cousin could still match one of the 8, even though when the searching we didn't find them when we did the search a specific name. And by the way, just as a reminder here, your DNA needs to be attached to your tree in order for these match activities to take place. Now we're in our search screen. We're going to take a look and find one of those that we left behind from session 1 and 2 was public linked trees that we did not get a dot on. There wasn't a dot that was applied to this person. Well, we need to go into this one and see if we can apply a dot and how to do so. So we go into this person. Okay, none of the 8 surnames appear in the small tree. There's a very small tree here. There's only 5 people in it, and none of the dots that we worked with appear in it. This is a very close match, so that's very much so that one of those 8 will match them. Well, what do we do next? Well, we click on the shared matches. This is where we go into the shared matches and see if we can find a common dot that we've applied to other members that seems consistent with this person, so we can apply that dot to them. Well, we go into this person's shared matches, and as we look down through those matches, here's 2 representative matches in that group. 2 dots, and there, like I said, there's more of them down through here. This is the Purvis dot, one of the 8 that we started with. Well, we can now apply that dot to this person. Now the next one is we left behind was no trees. Here's a match, again, very high level match, centimorgans wise, second or third cousin, but there's no tree. What we do on this one is we go in and we do the same thing again. We go into the search matches section to see if there's a commonality of dots that we see consistently across the matches that they share with us. This high level of centimorgans, someone that should match to one of those first 8 dots. So we go in there, we go down through it, and look, here we go. We find a dot that is consistent. Even though there's other dots on these, there's actually 1 dot on this one individual match, the third one down here, just 1 dot. And we see the same dot on the other 2 matches above it. What is this dot? That's the Baker. Again, another one of our first 8. We apply that dot to this tester. Now we're going to go down and we look at another feature. This is one that I kind of cover in other videos as well. Is you've got a common ancestor listed here, but there's no dot. Well, let's go into this one. When we go in here, Ancestry has a feature that is through lines or shows a common ancestor they say matches you. We're going to go into the notes section of this match, and we're going to type in what it says here: second cousin, once removed, through Parker and Browning. Now, I want to make a point here. I have a video that details how to do this and other topics, specifically searching one specific surname, and I'll add that to the end screen of this video, so you can go watch that if you want to watch a very specific case, not on this particular person's test, but on another test, how we go in, find a surname, and apply it, and it's a separate video. Now, we have completed, and I did that pretty quickly, the other things you can do after you've exhausted the first simple steps of typing them in, searching for them, filling in for the 20 Cyril Morgans and above matches. Now it's time to get an additional 16 dots. There's 24 dots available. Let's get the rest of those 16 dots. You need to expand your surnames as much as you can. Now, getting to your great grandparents or those 8 surnames, some people that's very, very easy for, other people it's very difficult. So at this point, this is for the advanced user that has got past the 8 surnames, their great grandparents, at least some. You don't have to have them all to do this. What we do, and this is the simple part, you expand it to 32. And what you do here is each one of those great grandparents, who are their grandparents. So each one of them have 4 grandparents. You add Kaywood, which is the first surname, of course, because that's one of the 8. And then Kaywood married an Irwin, and in this case, Hensley married a Ledford, and so forth on down the line. And you fill in every one of them that you can in this format, and that's the first 32. Now, a little later in this video, I'm going to show you how to gain the additional 8 names. At this point, I just want to show the simple format of the 32 paired names. Now, this is the strategy going forward for these additional 16. The top row are the odd numbers, and the bottom row are the even numbers. The top row are going to represent the paternal parents of the great-grandparents, and the bottom row is going to represent the maternal parents of the great-grandparents. The first one, the Kaywood, would be 9 and 10. So the father's side, the grandparents, are number 9 section, and number 10, the 10th dot, so forth all the way down the line here. And let's take a very specific look at the Parker, Truitt, Browning, Forbes. Let's look at this graphically with the dots. You go in here, and this is the example. So you have your 7th dot of the 8 across the middle is the Parker. Well, the 21st dot and the 22nd dot represent the Parker Truitt and the Browning Forbes, so that you know that these are all associated names. This whole line, when you see that color, if you train yourself to look at the yellow, you know it's the Kaywood and the associated names there. In this case, it's the Parker and the Browning and the Forbes and the Truitt names. When you see this color, you can get yourself into that mode by first learning how to do the first 8. So now you have the 21, the 7, and the 22. You go into this one, and we already seen this one before, and it's Parker and Browning. We added them up into the notes section. But what we can actually do now is look at this Browning, and we can go from the 7th dot. Now we can add the 22nd dot because the Browning is there. Now, that steps us through. You apply the same steps we did in video number 1, video number 2, and session 1 of this video on going and adding those dots. Since you already know how to do all that, we didn't do a lot of extra examples or illustrations, because you should already know how to do those features based on the previous sessions. So let's go into how to gain those additional 8 names. We're going to use the example of Cathers. So the 8th dot name was Cathers. We know that the grandparents are number 23 and number 24 here. Cathers and Moore are the grandparents of this great-great-grandparent, and we know Robinson and Lewis are the maternal line. At this point, now we can actually go ahead and add one more name because we already have Cathers and a dot dedicated to Cathers. Let's take advantage of the fact that we have this dot and add another surname. And we're going to add another surname based on the fact that the Cathers married Reams. Now we can say, although it's the paternal line, it's going to have the surname Reams and more, and we gain 40 surnames by doing it this way. We now have it's Kaywood line, but it's Hamlin, so whenever you add that dot, you're going to add it if it's a Hamlin or an Irvin. You're going to add down here, it's Allen, it's the paternal line, but you're going to add Sliger or Laws, and all the way down through here. And then what we want to do is we're going to go in and do the same things we did in part 1 and part 2 and in earlier in this session. We go and grab that surname we just added, and we put Reams right here. We go ahead and change the settings that we talked about at the very beginning. Yes, you need to know how to do. We want to make sure it's at the closer 20 centimorgans and above matches. We need to apply for that. And now we notice when we do that and we've applied that we have a match that does not have a dot yet. And we've already done those 32 dots, and we do not have a dot on this person. That means we can go into this person and learn a lot. What we're going to actually do, instead of adding the dots as we did in part 1, where you go down to the very bottom of this list and you just add that dot all the way up and now you've added the dot, there's some lessons to learn from this particular match because they have the common ancestor without the dot. Let's take a look at this one more specifically so you can see what we can gain in this one match. We go in and we have a common ancestor. Boom. We have names appear on the tree. They're in the green over here. We got 2 names here. Boom. Shared surnames. Okay, here's the list of shared surnames at the bottom of this list. Those dots right here represent something we can do something good with. So let's go to this. I went in and I advanced through this and went ahead and typed it in and posted this image so that because we've done it before, so I just wanted to make it more expedient here. I've added the notes. This is the 6th cousin per this note here. This is the 6th cousin for the Cathers, Ross. I had the actual surnames that match at the bottom of the page, and I go over here and I add the dots that I know makes sense to add. So we've added the Cathers Reams, which is what we searched for, and I went ahead and added the Robinson dot because that is another one of those surnames that's right here in this on this screen as that I'm circling here. It's right there, and you want to add that dot because it's one of our 32 dots that we already had, and now one of our 40 dots. I want to go on into another topic that's going to come up for you. It may have already happened in the first 8. It may have happened during your activity of the 32, but sometimes the dot's going to already be there, and you're going, why is the dot already there when this is a new surname? Well, we expanded it to the additional 8 surnames, and we added Henderson as one of those names. Well, let's look at this. Dot, 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 dot. Well, they had Goforth already. Goforth and Henderson tied together. You know they have both of those names in these. And therefore, you're happy to say that you're going to find a connection there. But this is more than likely a dot that's going to be very relevant for your research. Part 3, conclusions. We now have all 40 dots that we can have. We have all the surnames that we can add. Now again, if you don't have them all, that's okay. You set the format up the way I show it on here, and when you gain those names, you can add that, fill in that name. I would suggest putting an unknown there or question marks there, something that represents that you don't know that name yet. But you still add the dots if you have the other name. Like in this example we just looked at, the Henderson and the Goforth are tied together. So let's just say we didn't know that the Henderson was a name, but we knew the Goforth. So that's what that is. Secondly, you now have the best visual ability, so you can look at all your matches. Again, endogamy is a possibility and pedigree collapse, but just stating it in general, the more dots you see, the more likely they're truly closer kin to you realistically and really from your tree when you look at them. And then if you see some individuals that only have one dot, that really focuses you on where that person could actually match you at. And thirdly, anytime you have a new match that comes along and you don't have a dot on them, you go, okay, let's see if we can apply this, and you open them up right there and you go, who's their shared matches, or look at their trees, and you know how now to put the notes over there. You also know how to look down through the list because you already have dots that you've done at this point, and you say, yeah, this is how they're associated. So you can look at their tree, you can look see if there's a common ancestor listed, you can look now at this and say, I'm going to add these dots for them, I know how they're kin to me, and you've got a whole process to continue on through the future. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot from it. I hope you can apply this and the other 2 videos in this series. Right here you'll find a link to the part 1 of this video, and over here you're going to find the link to the video I said that was specific on how to search surname and add notes and those things. So let's continue learning together.